Dead Rising 2 is a genuinely fun game that improves upon its predecessor in nearly every aspect, save for its reduced difficulty, lack of charm, and some egregious DLC fuckery. The original Dead Rising's appeal rested largely in the fantasy of being in a mall and going apeshit on all the other patrons. Who among us hasn't imagined pushing a fat bitch down the up escalator and watching her fall endlessly? Smashing a pushy kiosk worker over the head with her own display case of knockoff Pokemon branded cell phone cases, or twisting an ironic nerd cred t-shirt around a smarmy hipster's neck until his bitch tits explode. And while you can still use environmental items as weapons in Dead Rising 2, the game incentivizes using combo weapons by awarding extra experience points for their use, and the damage per second ratio is completely unbalanced. If creating a combo weapon was tied to a gameplay-related reward, like a roll of duct tape that appears in the safe house for every 100 zombies Chuck kills, this would be a non-issue. However, the most powerful weapon in the game is easily mass-produced in the area immediately outside of the safe house, and you rarely have a reason to use anything else. Zombies are also more docile than before, allowing Chuck to run through the crowds completely unmolested, which I think we can all agree is the least gratifying way to run through a crowd. This eliminates the need for improvising weapons on the fly and allows the combo weapons to be easily hoarded for boss fights. In the original, if a survivor was grabbed, the player was punished with the gruesome cutscene of zombies tearing that survivor apart. In this sequel, the improved survivor AI combined with the toned down aggression of zombies trivializes return trips to the safe house to the point that the only survivors I ever saw die were the ones that I killed myself. Vehicles return in a larger fashion and serve as nice late-game unlockables that roll over for future playthroughs. However, most four-wheel vehicles move painfully slow and lack tactile feedback. Though, that could be in part due to the PC port lacking native controller support, and while the keyboard controls work just fine, you'll often try to dodge an attack and wind up opening Steam Workshop instead. Graphically, Dead Rising 2 is competent. Zombie hordes number in the thousands, shambling under neon lights and between glittering slot machines. Each area is lit differently, making them easily to mentally sort, and the overall quality of the in-game assets is terrific. However, the design of the main character is lacking. Frank West was ugly in a relatable kind of way, like a bricklayer who accidentally took a concrete block to the face, an alcoholic that got into one too many fistfights, or a Jewish woman. Chuck Green, on the other hand, looks like a stroke paralyzed the top half of his face. I get that he's supposed to be dead on the inside since his wife died, but that occurred off-screen in a console-exclusive DLC that most people don't even know exists. Which brings me to my biggest gripe. While I can appreciate the amount of content in Dead Rising 2 as part of the overall package, Dead Rising 2 is incomplete. Dead Rising 2 Off the Record reimagines Dead Rising 2's events with Frank West in place of Chuck Green. It could have been included in the base game as an unlockable mode, or at least as a cheap DLC. Instead, it's a $20 standalone spin-off with just one new area, 3 new bosses, and slightly different dialogue. If you want to know what happens when Chuck and Frank team up, you'll have to shell out even more for yet another Xbox 360 exclusive DLC. It's a bit like if the Resident Evil remake sold Jill and Chris's campaigns separately, then charged you extra for the opening and closing cinematics. Psychopaths return and make for generally fun encounters. These bosses include Kurt Cobain just before taking a massive shit, Patton Oswalt on the rebound, and the largest erection I've had in years without requiring the use of a traffic cone in a wind tunnel. Fights are generally challenging in a fair way, and you rarely feel cheated. And even when you die, there are so many save points scattered around the map that backtracking is not an issue. Usually survivors will assist you against psychopaths, though occasionally they'll get in the way and become mini-bosses as well. Looters are survivors that attack Chuck on sight, go down faster than a fatherless fat bitch on prom night, and run the shops scattered throughout the game where Chuck can buy car keys, rare combo weapons, and the Zombrix needed to keep Chuck's daughter Katie alive. Katie serves as a vulnerable target that the player can project their fear of failing onto. Chuck can shrug off bullets and zombie bites no problem, but few people will go through their first playthrough without letting Katie turn undead and without feeling a little bad for it. However, the Zombrix needed to keep her alive is so easily gathered once the player figures out where to find it that it becomes a complete afterthought. Instead of forcing Chuck into a dangerous area or a tough boss fight, all the Zombrix you need can be found by walking on the lighting fixtures of the various casinos. Other modes include Terror is Reality, a competitive online multiplayer mode that not a single living person on the planet was available to play, so who's to say whether it's good or bad. After an hour of trying, I finally managed to join a co-op game with a player that immediately attempted to kill me and was promptly put into his place like the little bitch that he is. Overall, Dead Rising 2 is a pretty good game despite being neutered for DLC. Thanks for your time, and good God, look at that booty! I bet her pussy looks like a mattress folded in half.